Hello, guys. Welcome to the Daily Take. My name is Marcelo Mueller,
I'm Lucas Martinez.
Now Fernando Mendoza.
and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Rosolie. Would you like to give a couple words about yourself?
Sure, thanks. For the last 14 years, have been exploring, documenting, and trying to save the Amazon rainforest. And that's sort of taken me through television, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, the United Nations, everything you can imagine, as well as all kinds of fun tropical diseases, all kinds of animal bites, which is why my hands don't work quite properly anymore. But we are protecting a pretty good chunk of the Amazon as it stands now. And this journey started probably when I was about your guys' age, which actually makes me want to ask, how old are you guys?
Well, we're all between 16 and 17.
Okay, yeah, then that's when I started. That's when I started. I started at 17, man.
Definitely.
Well, we just wanted to start off by knowing how you got to where you are today. Where did the journey start?
The journey started the journey started when I was very, very young. I was that kid that wanted to be around streams and in the woods, and that's when my parents would sort of be like, what do you want to do with your weekend? I would be like, I want to go to the stream. I want to go catch snakes and frogs and stuff and have fun in the woods. That was what I loved. Never did good in school. Severely dyslexic right here. Terrible grades. Could not pass a math class, even if I tried, and I did try. Very good at English class. I could always write. So anyway, school was never good, and I would say by sophomore year, I was doing so badly and getting in so much trouble that I was actually encouraged by my parents to drop out of school. Dropped out of school. Like they were like, you're gonna end up in jail. You were too angry. You're just getting crazy. Dropped out of school. Got my GED, which is basically your second 2 years of high school in one equivalency test in one afternoon, and started going to college. And then just got myself set on that I wanted to go and do the biggest. I'd been sitting in a desk for how many years, since first grade. And so I wanted to go out and do the biggest, most intense adventure that I could think of. And I was like, well, what is the one thing that I've always wanted to do? And it was go see the Amazon. Where is there more life than anywhere else on Earth ever? The Amazon. So I just set it in my head that I was going, and I did it.
Yeah, and how did you get from just wanting to do it to like actually doing it and then getting on like bigger networks?
Yeah, that's the question. That's the most important question. Because at 17 and then 18 years old, when I started putting things together, the first no was from my parents. You're not going to the Amazon alone. Second no was I was this like weird freshman in college that, was like an unmatriculated high school freshman. So I'd like go up to professors and be like, hey, so is there any way that I could like get to the Amazon with like a study? And they were like, no. They're like, when you're a girl. So it was like my parents said no, the professor said no, and then I went to the administration, they said no, and then I called a bunch of organizations and they said, yeah, well, if you pay us enough, you can come do whatever you want. You pay us $7,000 for a week, you can come. And so I really had to, basically the answer was no, you can't at 17 go to the Amazon. And then I had to really look, I had to really find things, I had to really comb through the internet, talk to people. And I found this one indigenous man who had a conservation plot deep in the Amazon. It took days to get there. There's no road. You had to fly in and then go by road and then take a boat for 2 days to get there. It was like super remote. And I was like, that sounds, and they were like, yeah, we'll check our email once every month or so. They were like, we might not get back to us. I was like, this sounds like what I want. And they basically were like, for, $25 a day, you can come and like do work for us, clear trails, count how many birds are in this tree every single day, and we'll let you see the Amazon. So it was very unofficial. It was very, it wasn't like a tourist trip to Costa Rica where they're like, now we're going to go on a rainforest walk and they're going to take you on a zip line. It wasn't that. It was pack your bags. It was like, you're going to the Amazon. And I went to the Amazon, and as soon as I stepped a foot in the jungle, it was like that first scene in Jurassic Park when they see the dinosaurs and they're like, it's just like,
Just amazed.
oh, it's like, I'm home, man. So yeah, that is, so many people ask me that question where they're like, how did you start doing this? And well, now I have a company where I'm the guy that when people say, well, I want to get to the jungle, I'm like, well, come. But 14 years ago isn't that long ago. And getting down there was, it seemed like really hard. And then even after I finally got myself positioned, I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to the Amazon. They were like, no, you're not. Like, so.
So, you're saying you got on the plane when you were a 17-year-old, like our age, and
Yeah.
wow, that's.
I think I just turned 18. Because I remember saying, like, I'm 18. I'm going whether you like it or not.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And going back to like when you're like 18, 17, how you like to go to the stream on the weekends.
Yeah.
And, just go around there. And correct me if I'm wrong, you grew up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the biomes are very different in New York from the Amazon. How do you know that you want to go to the Amazon and not some other type of rainforest?
It's just that the Amazon, it was the world's biggest rainforest. It's because the Andes Mountains hit the Amazon lowlands. You have the most biodiverse place in the world right there. So I knew that I wanted to go there where there was more life than anywhere else. And streams are streams, especially like, a stream in New York, you got your ferns and moss and the stream and rocks and all the little wildlife. If you go to high mountains, like you go to Montana, it's a totally different thing. But in the rainforest, I feel like the streams here, I'm in New York now, are kind of similar. It's just in the jungle, there's more. It's more intense.
Just a lot of diversity.
There's just so much diversity. And then I've been spending time in Virginia the last few weeks, which Virginia is the most biodiverse place in the U.S., Appalachia. And so it's just amazing. And then I did go to the Amazon, and then soon after that, I was in Borneo doing research. And so it's like I got to see complete other side of the world, rainforests. It's just once it started, man, it started. And then it became like sort of an obsession that I have not recovered from.
Yeah, it's incredible how around the world, like, it could change so much. So, what is one piece of advice that you would give to like the listeners that were in your point at like when you're 16 and 17 and they want to do similar to what you did? What's a piece of advice you would give to them?
It's very simple. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And also it's that, and get off of your screen. Because I see so many people where my inbox is filled with messages and they're like, sir, can I come with you? Mr. Rosolie, can I something? And it's always, can I this? I don't respond to any of them. The ones that I respond to are, yo, I'm making videos on this, and this. I can do this for you. And it's like, look, in my position, I have hundreds, thousands of people contacting me all the time. So it's like, each one wants to come to the jungle for free. Each one wants to come to whatever. So what I tell people is stuff like this. When I went to the Amazon, I had nothing to offer them. So I paid them with the little money I saved up working at the YMCA as a lifeguard. And then I said, you have to create value for yourself and whatever it is you want to do. So these guys, when I went down there, the indigenous guy, JJ, he started teaching me how to catch the crocodiles, how to identify where the jaguars would walk. He started teaching me the jungle. And I literally said to him, I was like, well, what can I do for you? You're giving me everything. And he was like, we don't have gringos, man. We don't have tourists. We don't. And I was like, I'm from New York, man. I got gringos up the wazoo. I was like, I could bring you gringos. And so that's what I did. I went home and I showed my friends pictures of anacondas and jaguars and all this stuff. And I said, guys, come with me to the jungle. So we started helping JJ. We started helping him make a living, which helped him protect his forest, which helped me have a job and helped me become the jungle guy. So I created that value for myself. I also had a kid, about a year ago, a kid wrote to me and goes, I'm studying marine biology, just got out of college, and like, there's no jobs. He was like, every cool job is already taken. It's very competitive. There's this person, that person. And I was like, what do you specifically, what do you want to do? And he's like, great whites. I was like, you had to pick the thing that everybody wants to do. But if you're going to pick the thing that everybody wants to do, I was like, go to the place where they study great whites. Go to the tip of South Africa. Find the people that are doing the work that you want to be doing and carry their scuba tanks, carry their notebooks, their cameras, whatever it is. Find a way to make them like you. Wait on that dock until they have a minor tragedy and you can save them. I mean, that's what Gatsby did to the guy in the boat, and that's how he became Gatsby. I mean, you have to create your opportunity, and if you're and surround yourself with who do you want to emulate, who do you want to work like. That was my big thing. I would look at like Jane Goodall or Derek and Beverly Joubert, Steve Irwin, or a lot of famous scientists that you guys wouldn't know. I was like, I want to be like them. But then you find a way to hang out with them. They're the only people that'll be able to make you into that. And that goes for anything. That goes for whether it's business or whatever else. I mean, there's kids that are like, oh, I want to start a company. It's like, well, cool. Get out of your room and go find people that are starting companies. I just feel like everyone's like, I want to do something. Let me. And I'm like, no. This is for like Snapchat and Instagram and fuck. And then nothing else. I'm trying, man.
No.
It's all right. And now you're one of the big ones that some people look up to. So congratulations for that.
Maybe, I don't know. You say so.
So, obviously, like throughout this pandemic, it's put a huge toll on everyone's lives, and has also opened a lot of opportunities for people and like innovative like work in their fields. So we've seen your post on Instagram for COVID support for Roy. Can you elaborate more on what you did there and like why it mattered so much to you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. So Roy is our chef, and he's like the best guy in the world. This man cooks with love, and when you're out in a survival situation, which is what the Amazon always is, when you come back to base and there's warm, delicious food, it saves you. And Roy knows that, and so he always takes care of everybody. And so after all these years, he's been saving up to start his dream is to start his own like Amazon-based restaurant, and he's just rescued us with food so many times. It's just so wonderful. And his mother, his wife, and his daughter, I believe, all got COVID at the same time. Okay. Now the problem is where they live in this little tiny jungle town where the airport does not even have walls. It just has like some like fencing on the sides. The hospital was shut down because all the doctors had COVID. They had no more ventilators, respirators. And basically that was it. You have COVID. It's like, well, cross fingers, see you on the other side. And so Roy called us, and we're all pretty tough. The guys that work down there, we see a lot of stuff, and usually he'd say, I could use some help, if you got the time. He was like, my family's dying. I need your help immediately. He was like, he was at the end of his rope. And the miracle thing that happened was that we put up that fundraiser, and all the people over the years that had come and tasted Roy's food and felt his warmth and made friends with him on our trips, they immediately threw in $5, $10, $100. So one guy threw in $1,000. But the fundraiser started going up so quick, and then people from Instagram just started throwing out, again, $5, $10, $100. We got there, and I think they raised tons of money for him, and they bought oxygen tanks for his mom and his sister and his daughter, and they're all alive right now, which is incredible. But we got it was beautiful. That whole day I was walking around just sort of choked up because it was people that never even met him were helping him. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how like social media connects you to so many people. I mean, if it weren't for social media, we wouldn't be able to have you on this podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
It's crazy the like network that it opens up to you.
It's insane. And we did another one for this guy, our boat driver Victor, whose leg has a degenerative knee problem where he doesn't have cartilage. Same thing. We raised like $7,000. And one of the important takeaways from all of this, though, is that that I've learned slowly over the years, is that when you say like if I did a fundraiser right now and I said, guys, help us protect the rainforest, everyone would be like, huh? But when you're like, look, we want to protect this piece of rainforest, here's a picture of it, and if we raise $10,000, we can get this acre, and that tree will be protected. People are like, okay, so this is the amount, here's the cost, and here's the benefit. It's like 1, 2, 3, and then they go, so we helped Roy. Yes, we helped Roy. The problem that I've been sort of working on as I become in a more manager position to all of this in the conservation field, is that you don't want people to, traditionally it's like, you donate monthly to WWF and they send you a little teddy bear of like a polar bear or something. And you're supposed to say, well, I guess it's doing some good somewhere. But it's like, if you can show people, take a bunch of small things to add up to a big thing. So we're going to help this guy, this local guy who believes in protecting the forest. We're going to help him. Boom. We did that. Now we're going to help this person. Boom. And this week we have a piece of land. It's about 2,000 acres, which sounds like a lot, but it's not in the Amazon. It's a teardrop in the ocean. There's 150 ancient ironwood trees on there, along with maybe millions of other trees, but these ironwood trees are what the loggers have their eyes on. So it's like this week we have to decide, are we buying that land, which during COVID we don't have any really funds to do it with, or are we going to let those trees get cut down? And those are 500,000-year-old trees. So once they get cut down, that's it. Our grandchildren won't see trees like that again. So it's, so again, we're trying to think of what we can do to get everybody excited enough about these trees. But this is the game, man. This has been my thing. My thing is just telling people these stories that Roy's mom is sick. We got to help. The jungle's being attacked. We got to help. We got to, it's like, that ends up being what I do, is just being this like storyteller, just explaining to people, you could totally help here. And then thankfully people usually want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And just from the stories you've been telling, I can just tell they have a lot of successful and interesting fundraisers. But I just want to ask you on the fundraiser part.
Yeah.
Which fundraiser of yours do you think, meant the most to you, or you think was the most impactful to the actual Amazon?
I actually think it was this COVID round, because for all these years, we've done fundraisers for our station roof. We've done fundraisers for pieces of land. But to me, these are the local people who could be loggers or gold miners or poachers. And they're like, no, we want to work in conservation. Roy will not work for an oil company. He only works with people that are protecting the forest. And he's a good chef, so they want him. And so, yeah, when I go down there, I employ my team, and we all, we've all been together so long that, we're like family. But this was a time where we could show it. These guys had no other option. And we sort of were just like, yo, you don't worry about a thing. We got you. And we were able to come down and help them. And what that does, though, is that shows everybody else in the community that they were like, oh, when these guys needed it, who was there to help? Those crazy gringo friends of theirs that love going in the swamps. Like, I think that we put a new layer on the friendship with this one, because they really needed it and we got there for it. And it's just, I think that in a way does have the biggest impact on the Amazon, because it's like, no, it's not just like, oh, we're trying to protect the trees. It's like, no, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
We obviously one of the first things that we read about you was about your documentary Eaten Alive. It's honestly very interesting. Could you elaborate more on that?
Sure. I will summarize on that, because in the grand scheme of things, it is not super important. But at the time, I think I was 23 or 24 at that point, and they were like, hey, do you want to have your own Discovery Channel special? You can have that, and we're gonna, we'll pay you more money than you gotten paid so far. And I was like, really? Like, sure. So they get you to say yes to anything, but it's basically, there's two movies. There's The Devil Wears Prada, and then there's another one with Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino, where people get jobs that are way over their head, and then by the end of the movie they wake up and they go, what the hell did what was I doing? And then they realize it. I got signed up, flown to LA. They built a $200,000 suit for the snake to pretend to eat me. They said that the film, they shook my hand, said, kid, don't you worry about a thing. They said that we're going to talk all about conservation. You can talk about whatever you want. Just at the end, try to let the snake eat you. And then what happened was they edited the film. They changed our words. They had originally called the show Operation EA, Expedition Amazon. The day before I was supposed to go on the Today Show with Matt Lauer or whatever, I found out that the show was going to be called Eaten Alive, not Expedition Amazon. And I was like, this is going to make everybody think that I was eating. And they were like, no, we're marketing experts. Don't worry about a thing. I said, okay. So then I saw the film, hated the film. It wasn't the film that we filmed. We spent 6 weeks in the Amazon. We caught a world record breaking snake. We had all these amazing experiences. And so I called up Discovery Channel. I said, please don't put this out. I will not endorse this. And they basically just said, listen very carefully, kid. They said, if you're going to go on live TV tomorrow and you have any problems or you think you're going to say anything crazy, let us know, because we'll sue you tonight and your grandkids will be poor. So I got the strong arm from the Discovery Communications conglomerate. And so I had to promote a show that I didn't like, that things like the snake that we caught was 18 feet 6 inches. They changed my friend's voice to say 19 feet 6 inches. They blatantly lied on a lot of stuff. They mishandled everything. And then when the show came out, my face was on the show, so I got blamed for everything. So that went down hard. So that was my first major national failure. Like there was like comedy shows going off on like, you know, I don't know if you guys know like Opie and Anthony and like all this other stuff where they were just like ripping us apart. I was getting death threats. I mean, all this crazy stuff. So I basically had to go into hiding for like a year and a half and not do anything else that had to do with television or documentaries. But it was a monumental, epic, monstrous failure. And the reason I can say that like happily now is because what you learn from that you can't get from any kind of college PhD or anything like that. You can only get that kind of education one way, the hard way. And
Yeah,
so
but
now,
at that time you were already doing conservation efforts, right? So although it gave you like it gave a lot of people a negative view of you, it still gained you like popularity, in other words, right? So in the end it might have helped you a little bit, or you don't think so?
no, it definitely did. I mean, anything that gives you attention, as you know, like the Kardashians and Mr. Trump can attest to, anything that gives you popularity gives you attention, which is a currency. You can use that, and I've used that. The problem is that in the conservation world, then everyone was like, "Oh, you're not a real conservationist. You're that guy that tried to get eaten by a snake." And so for a long time, I had to deal with that. So, but I took a shot and I missed. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, well, look where you are today. Like, I
Do.
mean, I don't think a lot of people view it as a failure.
Well, I mean, it was and it wasn't, but the thing is, there's gonna be failures. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, if you're an A-list actor, you're still gonna have a couple movies that are real clunkers. And if you're a businessman, you're gonna have some years or some ideas or some departments that you start at your company that are just not gonna work, and you're gonna have to throw them in the trash. And if you're an artist, you're probably gonna spend the first, decade of your life producing absolutely terrible art. And so that's why I love the Eaten Alive story, was because I went charging into it and I was like, I got this. And man, did I get burned down so hard. And it was great, because now I'm kind of indestructible. I mean, I've been through that. So
Definitely. And we've noticed through your Instagram feed and just a bunch of other culmination of things, how you're just a very fit and looks like a very healthy guy. How do you maintain that when, I know you said like the Amazon and you guys always have the food at hand?
yeah, well, I get really in shape. I get really shredded in the Amazon because well, you don't eat that much. But I think fitness is like everything else. It's what you do every day. I make fun of, I mean, we have undergrad students that come to the Amazon, and I see a lot of these kids come down, and I see the kids that I notice as a person that is the holder of opportunities. These kids are all going to say, well, can I work with you? And I notice who opens a book in their free time and who's like playing Candy Crush, who's constructively using their free time and who's wasting their free time, who's building skills, journaling or something, or learning something, or just like, whatever. So I try to make my free time and my leisure time fun, but constructive. So yeah, fitness, I'll like take people out for like a 2-hour hike in the jungle. And then when we get back to the base, I'll be like, all right, guys, we're going to do, 15 minutes of the worst ab exercises you've ever seen. And everyone's just like, why? And I'm like, because it makes you so hot that you can't wait to jump in the river. And they're just like, oh. So, yeah, I get contacted. This is the other crazy thing. I get contacted constantly by supplement companies. And they're like, hey, would you sell our protein powder on your Instagram? And I don't, man. I push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, running, muscle-ups. That's it. That's all you need.
Just all body weight.
All body weight. I went to a gym once when I was like, maybe in 7th grade. My older cousin was like, dude, you gotta work out. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I like being outdoors. Today I ran 5 miles, and I have a pull-up bar between 2 trees, and I just recently learned to do muscle ups, so I'm really excited about them. So I was banging out some muscle ups, but that's it.
You mentioned that like you're constantly out in the wild, and you've obviously traveled around the whole world. So What is your favorite animal or species that you've encountered?
Oh my God, that's like saying what's your favorite song, or favorite species. Okay, I mean, the thing is, you got the big ones. You got like tiger, humpback whale, giant anteater. Those are seeing a wild tiger will change your life 100%. And same with seeing a humpback whale. But there's something so big and in your face about those. Like, we all know those species, but some of the things that get me the most are like when you just see something you never expected to see. Like, there's a species of frog that had never been seen before on my river, and one day it jumped in front of me, and they call this thing the jewel of the Amazon. It's the Amazon leaf frog, and it's like yellow underneath, turquoise bluish green on the back, and it's got all these crazy patterns. It doesn't look real. It looks like somebody tried to draw the coolest frog possible. And I saw one in 14 years. And I'm the only person, I was the first person on my river to see it on that river. And so that just threw me, man. Elephants. I mean, anytime, I think for the rest of my life, any time I see elephants, I think that right there is, there's something about elephants.
Yeah.
You just cancel all my plans, give up my life, and live with the elephants.
It's actually very interesting that you like mentioned the whole frog thing, because well, at least Fernando and I, we're currently taking environmental science, and like for summer reading, we started reading. Well, they assigned us a book called The Sixth Extinction.
Yeah.
And there was this the first chapter was like this whole like the concept of like the frogs going extinct, and like the Panamanian golden frog, and how like you just mentioned that like that frog that like you were the only one that had seen it, that there used to be so many different like species and variations of frogs, and like throughout the years, like it's so sad that they're just disappearing.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I think that's also the book where they mention, though, that there's like some species of African frog where if you have a woman urinate on the frog, it'll tell her whether or not she's pregnant. And I remember that from that book, because I was like, this is so depressing. This is so depressing. And then I was like, how did you figure this out? Did you just have pregnant women peeing on frogs until under color? How did you figure? What was the science like behind this one? Like,
oh no, yeah, for real. There was like the book was truly interesting, and
the book was, yeah.
I'm glad that it's great that we're like taking this class, and I think the class is like doing a good job. It's like overall like spreading awareness of like the situation that's going on in the world, and how like right now we're currently living in an unsustainable way, and it's just like truly opening your eyes up to like what's really going on.
Yeah, we are living in an unsustainable way, but the other thing that I always say is that our species has never had a problem like this before. We've never had a global problem. It's always been like, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, World War II, like, sure. But this is everybody. Whether you're an Eskimo or you live in Tokyo or South Africa or the Amazon, it doesn't matter. This is everybody. And so we're going to have to decide that we got to stop playing the like little war games, like, who's going to bomb who and who's going to start a war. Like, that's got to stop. We got to start remembering that like the free stuff is really good. Like, you get free fish in the ocean. There's up until about 7 billion people, we got free fish from the ocean that just like comes standard with the deal. Like life on Earth, you get free fish, sunlight, leaves, and we're messing that up. And the same thing goes for like the salmon runs. We're down to like 4% of what our salmon should be at. you guys should definitely check out a book called Where the Wild Things Were. You know, there's that kid's book, Where the Wild Things Are, I think. This is called Where the Wild Things Were. And it wasn't a popular book, but you can still get it like used on Amazon. But he goes through top-down predator ecology. Like, what do wolves do for an ecosystem? What do bears do for an ecosystem? And it's absolutely mind-blowing. And if you like The Sixth Extinction, this will also sort of cement that view of like, well, what does a coyote mean? What does a tiger mean? What are these things? How do they hold together the rest of their ecosystem? And it's just crazy. I mean, I was just explaining to someone, a lot of my family's in New York City, and they were like, God, the mosquitoes are so bad this year. And they were like, I can't imagine how bad the mosquitoes are in the Amazon. And I was like, the mosquitoes in the Amazon is not as bad as the mosquitoes in New York. And they were like, what? And I was like, dude, in the Amazon, every puddle of water, every bit of water has either frog tadpoles in it or some sort of fish or dragonfly larva or something else that's eating all those mosquito larvae. So they never have a chance to really reproduce because the ecosystem is so competitive. Whereas like in Staten Island, if there's like a bucket of water behind a shed, that's going to be filled with mosquito larvae, and that just becomes a breeding ground because there's no frogs there. There's no dragonflies there. In areas where there's foxes, the mice act differently, which affects the Lyme disease transmission to deer. So in areas with foxes, because of their predation, there's less Lyme disease affecting humans. And it's like all this stuff is so interconnected. I mean, we wouldn't be having a COVID pandemic if the insulating jungle around these bat caves was larger and hadn't been depleted. This wouldn't be happening. Same with Ebola, SARS, AIDS, a lot of the other ones that are being released. We're doing this.
Yeah. So evidently you place a lot of value on books and reading, right? So is there any quote or saying that you live by, or like anything that you place a high value on?
Ooh. Oh my God. I have an entire notebooks filled with quotes that I live by, but let me see. I want to read you one that I just sent it to my friend. That's the only reason I even have it here. It's by Hemingway though. Here, this is what it was. This is a Hemingway quote, and he says, "There are some things which cannot be learned quickly, and time, which is all we have, must be paid heavily for their acquiring. They are the very simplest of things, and because it takes a man's life to know them, the little that each man gets from life is very costly and the only heritage he has to leave." And that's like, it's a complicated quote, but it's basically saying like, whether you spend your time learning to be an expert ping pong player or a concert violinist or understanding the stock market, whatever you spend your time doing, you can become incredibly good at and or learn new things in. I thought that quote was really powerful. And then the other one was, I think it's a Michelangelo quote about the greatest danger for most of us is not aiming too high and missing, but aiming too low and hitting your mark. Which I like that one because I think a lot of people, if you could do anything, a lot of people don't ask themselves that question.
Yeah, definitely. And next up on the podcast, we have one of our more interesting segments, which is called Lunch with the Fam, where basically we ask a bunch of quick and fun questions, and we all kind of argue or discuss them like we would in a high school lunch.
Okay, nice.
So, would you rather win $50,000 or have your best friend win $500,000?
$50,000 or my best friend win 500,000.
Yes.
Best friend win 500,000. We do this all the time. We like whenever something good happens, we just take care of each other. I'd much rather him win, and it'll be great. If he's really a best friend, you want him to win.
Yeah, that truly be
I agree with
the
that.
friendship
I like
test.
that one.
Yeah.
That's the friendship test.
What about, would you rather move somewhere new every month or never be able to move from where you live?
Does that include traveling?
No.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna run into traffic and think about it. What would you guys say? I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I'd say I'd move somewhere new every month because, like, I don't know, like, I feel like the like ability of being able to move to a new place every month and like kind of experience different cultures, different like lifestyle is like truly like, I don't know, enlightening.
To be honest, for me, I would rather stay in one place because in that one place I could build connections which
Yeah.
I could basically have for the rest of my life. And whether I'm gonna, growing up with my friends or gonna apply to a job, I just feel like it'll be a lot easier to thrive than moving around. But everyone has their different ways.
Yeah, and for me, I could see both sides. I could see Marcelo's side and Fernando's side, but I think I'll have to agree with Fernando because the connections and moving like once every month, like that's a lot.
That's a lot.
You're never gonna really establish like.
Yeah, no, I think also as someone that spent, I mean, through my 20s, I spent probably most of my time in India and the Amazon. So I've been away for a lot of time. I see my friends once a year, I see my family a couple times a year, and you start to really go, oh, going home is important, really important. And so, when I was like your age, I was just like, get me out. I want to get out there. Like, I don't want to hear about my house. And then there comes a point where you've been away for like 3 years doing stuff and you just go like, I want my mom. Like,
All right, so this is kind of like, or this is the last question, and it's kind of connected to the whole idea that you're clearly like an animal lover, and you truly have a passion for this. So, would you rather speak all languages or be able to speak to all animals?
Animals, easy. I love that one. That would be great.
Like Dr. Doolittle.
Oh my God, you could. Oh my God, you'd have the coolest job ever. You could like go to places all over the world and be like, elephants, what's the matter? What's the matter? And they'd be like, they keep taking the bananas.
If there was one animal that you would like to speak to, which one would it be?
Elephants. 100%, because you can almost speak to elephants as it is if you know how. I know people that can straight up talk to elephants, and I'm pretty good because I think that they recognize another wild animal, but like an elephant conversation. I'll give you do we have time? I can give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So this elephant what had happened was I bought like this big thing of bananas. There's probably like 60 bananas on the thing. So I threw them in the Jeep, shut the door, drove back, get out of the car, and there's a semi-wild elephant. His name is Dharma. And so he comes out of the jungle and he's like, hey, what's up, man? Everything is the trunk. He like sniffs me here and then he like pushes me. And I'm like, all right, like a little aggressive right now. And then Dharma goes up to the car and he's like touching the car like this with his trunk. And he's like, you can just see, he like looks at me. He's like, hey, so, give me those. And I was like, Dharma, those are for tomorrow. And I like tried to like push his face. I was like, move. And I took like one step away and he went to the side of the Jeep and he put his shoulder against it and he just lifted the Jeep up. So now the Jeep goes up onto two wheels. And I turned around and I was like, Dharma, no. Dharma, and he just looked at me and he flapped his ears. He was like, no, I'll put it down, but you gotta give me bananas. And I was like, I can't believe I'm in a straight up negotiation with an elephant and I can't win. And I was like, I forget what I said, and he took one more step like this, and the car just went, and I was like, fine. And I grabbed a bunch of bananas and I gave it to him, and he put the thing down. And you could just tell he was like, like he knew exactly what was going on.
That's hilarious. Yeah. And to wrap up our podcast for today, first of all, we just want to give Mr. Rosolie, a special thanks to you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you guys, man. I appreciate it.
And we just wanted to remind all our viewers to follow us on social media. This is Fernando Mendoza saying adios.
This is
Lucas Martinez saying bye. This is Lucas Martinez saying bye.
This is Marcelo saying bye.
All right, mil gracias and adios.